I've lived in the South Park area of Merriam for most of my life, and we all knew one another. We primarily went to the same church. It was a wonderful experience growing up.
I've been living in Merriam all my life. At that time, Merriam was more rural than it is now. You know, we had the horses and farmland all around us, so we got to play and do what kids do, you know.
Joyce and myself, along with 3 children, moved here to Merriam in 1952. And of course, immediately united with the church, which I'm still a member. And I felt very welcome going to the little grocery store, which at that time Merriam had 2.
When I first came to Kansas City about 13 years ago, I started in Mission, moved a little bit into Fairway, just really kind of stayed in the northeast part of Johnson County, and I fell in love with the whole area. Merriam specifically is really sweet to my heart. What I love about working in Merriam is the people. Working here at the community center is amazing. The smiling faces, the stories you get to hear, watching families just being connected, and then the people in Team Merriam are top notch.
After 31 years, I worked at Ford and I retired, but I ended up moving out this way. So for one, to be closer to my business, and then also I love the community because it's big, but it's not big.
My dad loved history, especially Black history. That was something he was trying to let us know, like, we aren't very far from this. I mean, my dad was born in 1963. We know there was lots of movements there. What I'm most surprised about, and I didn't even know, is that so much history, especially in education, was here in Merriam.
It was a Black community here. They still had segregated schools. And to find out that it was 39 kids they wouldn't allow into another school.
My dad, I remember him speaking about the conditions of the school, where there was no cafeteria, no outdoor equipment. And so when they saw the new school being built, that's when they said, well, our kids should go there too. And that's when they started trying to organize about how to go about it. They received a great deal of help from Esther Brown.
Esther Brown was informed about the status and the condition of the school by her maid, Helen Swan, which was a Black lady. But she took it seriously and was a great instigator, instrumental in getting it done.
Mom said that Esther Brown got them in places where they couldn't just on their own. So she was essential, and she caught a lot of help from the community that were opposed to what she was doing to help the Black community. Some folks told me their families moved out of fear of what would happen. And then when they were blocked from entering the new school, and they started the alternative school in their own homes and in the old Mount Olive Church building. I mean, the community really stepped up and supported them. And you know Corinthia Nutter, she was a big support. But so also was Hazel Weddington, who was also a teacher at the school. They really stepped up and helped them, and my church stepped up. When they went to the school district and said, could you just improve our school? My parents were just astounded that they didn't even talk about it. They act like they weren't even in the room. So when they came back with a lawyer, that's when they got some respect. But before, it was just like they weren't even there. It was kind of a scary time for them, but they got our kids in school. I mean, after all, they were being taxed to pay for their school. Why couldn't they go to it?
I went to an integrated school. I started in kindergarten. All of that Brown versus Topeka stuff had happened prior to me starting the school, so I got on the tail end of it. The attitudes was still there, a lot of resentment on some kids. Some kids were good with it, some weren't.
I can't say that I, in grade school, noticed any overt segregation. Pretty much everyone's the same. As I moved on in the Shawnee Mission School District, I can remember there were things said and there were actions just to let you know, because you're not white, that this is where you belong. You don't get used to it, but you know to kind of expect it just because you're different.
You know, I didn't understand whites only. The reaction that when you went into a place, the merchant said things that were mean, and yeah, I just left it alone. I don't think there were too many established businesses that had whites only or that attitude. I think economics took them away. Mysteriously, we had arson fires in our community. Those that were deceased, the house would stay vacant for maybe a couple of weeks or maybe a month, and then mysteriously the house would catch on fire. There was probably 50-some fires that we had in our community. It was investigated, but it just kind of went away. I think it was probably would do with some real estate deal that they wanted the properties maybe to burn us out. You know, maybe they wanted us to leave. Well, we don't know.
Started keeping it in the family, praising my brother-in-law, who just passed away, Carl Wilkes, first black mayor of Merriam. And our neighbor, Julius McFarland, was first black man elected to the Merriam City Council. You know, the McCaleb family. He was so important in helping black students in South Park get to junior high and high school in Kansas City, Kansas. They had to find transportation, which was not provided by the school district, to get to school in Kansas City, Kansas. That's where they had to go. My dad is a Sumner High School graduate.
My uncle, Buford Allen, he was Tuskegee Airman. He was one of the guys that went around to petition different things that went on in the community. You know, we had dirt roads, limited utilities. Uncle and Julius McFarland were two of the guys that were instrumental in getting utilities, sewers, paved streets, street lights, all that stuff to our communities.
Well, I could say start with Julius being city councilor. Also, Julius was instrumental in retrieving the charter for the NAACP. I think it's important because we all are here on this earth, and even though we are different, we still are the same underneath.
With Spirit Life, I do still hold true to having the safe spaces for us, and so I would love for others to be able to come in and learn about our culture. Nowadays, with not only just the ethnicity part, but the gender, you still treat them the same. Just like I would want somebody to treat me the same because I'm black. You know, I just hope that we can overcome that and have those hard conversations.
We all want to get to that point where we just look at the person and say, I can get along with them, regardless of the color of their skin or their religious beliefs or their politics, whatever, I can get along with them. But there's more to do. I'm a member of the Johnson County NAACP Northeast Branch. And it's kind of difficult in the best of times to keep people engaged and keeping people informed on voting, on community service, on what's happening in each city. It keeps getting new leaders, younger leaders, yay. But you know, you gotta keep up.
The city of Merriam, with what we've got going on now, has brought in a lot more diversity, ethnic groups. The people that live in Merriam want to communicate and cooperate with the efforts that's been brought forth.
I love that the Merriam Community Center is taking the time to feature and showcase these different African-American artists who are coming out. I know that they've reached out to different professionals and artists across the metro area. I actually love the amount of celebrating that's happening. The more voices being heard, and the more leaders and educators standing up. I think that is how people learn. That's kind of why I love talking with people and asking their experiences, because that's how we get to learn one another.